If I told you that one of the most natural-looking moves in chess leads to a brilliant checkmate in just a few moves? Today, I am going to show you one of the most famous chess opening traps in the Italian game. This trap has caught thousands of players, from beginner all the way to intermediate level. If you play the Italian game as white, or if you face it as black, you need to know this trap. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why this trap works, how to set it up, and most importantly, how to avoid falling into it. This is one of the best chess opening traps for beginners, and one of the most important chess lessons you will ever learn. Let us get into it. Start with one of the oldest and most popular chess openings in history, the Italian game. This chess opening has been played for over 500 years, and it is still one of the best chess openings for white at every level. White plays pawn to e4, occupying the center, controlling the d5 and f5 squares. Black responds with pawn to e5, a classical response, equal center control. White plays knight to f3. This is the best developing move. The knight attacks the black pawn on e5 and develops toward the center. Black plays knight to c6, defending the e5 pawn. Standard chess development. Now white plays bishop to c4. This is what makes it the Italian game. The bishop goes to c4, aiming at the f7 square. Why f7? Because f7 is the weakest square in black's position at the start of the game. It is only defended by the black king. Black responds with bishop to c5, a solid symmetrical response. This is the Gioco piano, which means quiet game in Italian. Both sides have developed their bishops and knights to natural squares. White play d3. This is the Gioco pianissimo variation, which means the very quiet game. White supports the e4 pawn and keeps a solid pawn structure. Black plays knight to f6, developing the last minor piece and attacking the e4 pawn. White castles kingside. King safety first. Black plays pawn to d6, supporting the e5 pawn and opening the diagonal for the black bishop on c8. So far, both sides have played perfect chess opening theory. Evaluation is completely equal, nothing special. But now white makes a decision that changes everything. White plays bishop to g5. Now this is not a bad move. It pins the black knight on f6 to the black queen on d8. If the knight moves, the queen is hanging. But here is the problem. This bishop on g5 is now far from home and black can attack it with pawns. Better moves for white here would have been pawn to c3, preparing pawn to d4. Or rook to e1, improving the position of the rook. Or pawn to h3 to prevent any pins on the g4 square. These are the main lines in chess opening theory for the Gioco pianissimo. The bishop to g5 move is playable, but it requires very precise follow-up. Black plays pawn to h6, asking the bishop a question. Where are you going to go? White plays bishop to h4, staying on the diagonal, maintaining the pin on the knight. But now black plays pawn to g5, a bold, aggressive pawn push. Black is willing to weaken the kingside pawn structure to chase this bishop away. The bishop retreats to g3. Now comes the key move. Black pushes pawn to h5, threatening to play pawn to h4 on the next move, which would trap the white bishop on g3. The bishop would have nowhere to go. This is a critical moment in the game. White needs to make a careful decision. The engine says the best move is pawn to h4. Calm, prophylactic move that stops black's pawn from advancing and keeps the position balanced. But white sees something tempting. White plays knight takes pawn on g5, and the evaluation drops from plus 0.25 to minus 1.62. This is a massive blunder. The engine marks it with double question marks. White thinks, I just want a free pawn and my knight is threatening the f7 square. I can fork the queen and the rook. This must be great for me. But this is exactly what black wanted. Black calmly plays pawn to h4, attacking the white bishop on g3. Now white is in trouble. The bishop is under attack and the knight on g5 needs to do something useful. White plays knight takes f7, forking the black queen on d8 and the black rook on h8. This looks devastating for black. White is threatening to take the queen, but here is the genius of this chess trap. Black plays pawn takes bishop on g3. Black ignores the fork completely. Black does not care about losing the queen. Why? Because black sees something much bigger. White plays knight takes queen on d8. White has won the black queen. A queen is worth 9 points. Surely white must be winning. But look at the position carefully. Black has a pawn on g3 right next to the white king. The h-file is wide open. Black still has both rooks, both bishops, and a knight. White's king is exposed and the knight on d8 is completely out of play on the other side of the board. In chess, we have a saying, the initiative is worth more than material. Black has all the initiative here. Black plays bishop to g4. The bishop slides to g4, attacking the white queen on d1. White must deal with this threat. White plays queen to d2, getting out of the attack. Now black plays knight to d4. Beautiful move. The black knight jumps to the d4 square right in the center of the board. This knight is incredibly powerful. It threatens to come to e2 or f3 with devastating effect. White plays pawn to h3, trying to chase the bishop on g4 away and create an escape square for the king. Black plays knight to e2 check. The The knight lands on e2 with check attacking the white king. Now this is the moment of truth. White has one move that saves the game. Can you find it? The only move is queen takes knight on e2. Yes, white must give up the queen. After queen takes knight on e2, bishop takes queen, then knight to e6, and white is down material but still fighting. The evaluation is only minus 0.5. Can survive, but white does not find this move. White plays king to h1, a completely natural-looking move getting out of check, but this is checkmate in 2 moves. Black plays rook takes pawn on h3 check, a stunning rook sacrifice. The rook crashes into h3 with check. White has no choice. The g2 pawn must take the rook. Pawn takes rook on h3. And now the final move. Bishop to f3. Checkmate. Look at this position. It is absolutely beautiful. The black bishop on f3 delivers check. The white king on h1 cannot move anywhere. Checkmate. Black wins. Despite being down a queen, black delivers a stunning checkmate with a rook sacrifice and a quiet bishop move. This is one of the most beautiful checkmate patterns in chess. Let me give you the 5 key lessons from this chess game. Lesson number 1. Do not grab poison pawns. Your opponent spends 3 moves pushing pawns toward your piece. They are not giving you free material. They are setting a trap. Always ask yourself, why is my opponent allowing me to take this pawn? Lesson number 2. King safety is more important than material. White won a queen, but the king was completely exposed. An exposed king with no defenders loses to coordinated pieces every single time. This is one of the most important chess principles. Lesson number 3. Know your chess opening traps. This Italian game trap has been known for hundreds of years. If you play the Italian game, you must study this pattern. Chess opening preparation saves games. Lesson number 4. Always check for checkmate patterns before moving your king. Before white played king to h1, white should have asked what checks can my opponent give on the h-file and what diagonal attacks exist. The rook sacrifice on h3, followed by bishop to f3 checkmate, is a classic pattern. Lesson number 5. When you are attacking, do not trade queens. Black's one inaccuracy in this game was playing pawn takes bishop on g3 instead of the stronger queen to e7. When you have an attack against the enemy king, keep your queen on the board. The queen is the most powerful attacking piece in chess. So that is the famous Italian game opening trap, one of the deadliest chess traps for beginners and intermediate players. If you learned something new today, smash that like button and subscribe for more chess lessons, chess opening traps, and chess tutorials every week. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever fallen for this trap? Or have you ever used it to beat someone? I will see you in the next video.